Well, welcome to Greek 112. Sorry about this being a virtual classroom. Today I'm in the COVID protocol for the next 7 days. I don't have any symptoms and I'm taking the test on Monday. I hope to be back face to face on Friday, but until then, we get to use technology, and so um, we're going to read through Mark 5 29 through 42. I posted the actual Greek quiz in the announcement page on Brightspace. So once you've gone through the translation, and you can even watch this video, then if you'll take the quiz, we'll be in good shape, I think. So let's dive in, and let me just make sure my cursor is working. Yes. And straightway, the fountain of her blood was dried up. And so you see here, Pege is the word spring or fountain. And she knew, so that's third singular, but we get to supply she from the context there. She knew in the body, so that I think that's probably going to be locatival dative. You can do that in Greek. And whenever you're talking about body parts, you don't have to, in Greek, you don't have to add whose they are. It's kind of assumed, whoever you're talking about. So she knew in the body, but in her body, that. And then when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, that's a present indicative. But when I looked at the parsing, it's a perfect. And because you can't reduplicate, you can just lengthen there so that she had been healed, I think is how you want to do that. She had been healed from the whip, from this intensely painful thing. This is the same word when Jesus is scourged. It's used there. And straightway, Jesus, having known, so that's going to be your aorist from epigenosko. So this is a second aorist there with your root change. Having known in himself that the power from him, so that's good Greek. They do that all the time, put the preposition between the definite article and the noun. The power from him, having gone out. So this is from ekerkomai. It's going to be your second aorist. You de-augment aelthon to get elthone, and then usa is your feminine ending because dunamis is feminine. Having known the power from him, having gone out, and having turned, and there it's actually passive, having been turned, in the crowd kept on saying, who me touched of the garments. And so I think this is going to be the dependent genitive, who touched my garments, or who touched me, that is, who touched my garments. In terms of Christology, Orthodox Christology teaches that Jesus has two natures, and that he experiences everything that is true to those natures. So as a human, he can grow in wisdom and stature and favor with God and men. And as a human, he can be asleep. As a human, he can be limited to a physical place on earth. But in terms of his divine nature, none of those things can be said to be true. And so in the unity of his person, Jesus is experiencing ignorance and omniscience at the same time. He's experiencing limitation by a body and not being limited by a body. He's experienced temporal reality, and he's experienced dwelling in all eternity as a tent. And so he really doesn't know who touched him from his human nature, and as God, he knows that it exactly who it is, and he's experiencing that completely at the same time. 31, and his disciples kept on saying to him, you see the crowd pressing you, and you're saying, who touched me? How can you say who touched me? Everybody's touching you. And he was looking around to see the woman, notice it's feminine, having done this thing. So he knew it was a woman who touched him. He knows everything is God, so he's experiencing this ignorance and this omniscience in the unity of his person at the same time. The woman, having feared, so this is from phobeomai, and it's going to be deponent verb, middle or passive in form, but active in meaning. Having feared and trembling, so this is aorist, this is present. Having known, and so oida originally was a perfect, but it comes to mean I know. So when you do a participle, you actually have to do the perfect participle, and that's why you get this crazy form here that looks like a perfect participle, but it's a perfect participle of oida. Having known what had happened to her, she went and she fell to him. So this is your second aorist from prospipto. She fell towards him and said to him all the truth, or the whole truth, everything connected with the truth. But Jesus said, or you could lessen the contrast, and Jesus said, thugater. So love this word because you have a dental shift, dugater to thugater, in English. But this is why we spell the word daughter the way that we do. It's just the Greek word with a dental shift to our language. Thugater, hepistusu sokense. The faith of you has saved you. So we've got a reduplication there and the perfect ending. And of course, this is the accusative of you. Go. So this is your present active imperative. Into peace. Iste. Notice that's a present active imperative of Amy. It's like, oh my goodness, that's a crazy form. Yeah, it's a crazy form, but that's it. Be healthy, continually be healthy from your affliction, from your whip. Then while he was speaking, so notice you've got a pronoun in the genitive and a genitive participle, and it seems to make no sense in this sentence, so you get to add the word when, since, or after. Make this your subject, when he, and then make this just a regular verb, when he spoke, comma. I always make myself put a comma there to know I've got to start over grammatically. And while he was still speaking, there came from the synagogue ruler, and I guess you have to add the word ones here, or people, people saying that the daughter of you, your daughter, died. So the die here we have is a second aorist from apothenesco. You've got your root change and your imperfect ending. So that's what you do with the second aorist. Your daughter died. Why still are you harassing the teacher? But Jesus, having overheard, so this is the aorist participle, having overheard the word being spoken, when he overheard the word being spoken, he said to the synagogue ruler, stop fearing. So whenever you have a present imperative with may. It implies that you're doing it and you should stop it. Stop fear, only continually believe. And he did not allow anyone, I mean, literally it says he did not allow no one. And in Greek, the more negatives you put, the more emphasis it places on it. He did not allow anybody with him to follow him, except Peter, Jacob, in English we translate that James, and John, the brother of Jacob. And they come into the house. So Mark switches to historic present. The reality of this is just so fresh in his mind. They come into the house of the high priest, and he sees the historic present again, the commotion and people crying and wailing. I wonder if this is an alpha privative of the verb talk, but moaning out loud much. And having come in, he says to them, "Why are you lamenting, and why are you crying? The little girl did not die, but she is asleep." Now, that seems kind of weird to me, because text tells us that, she had died, but Jesus says she didn't die. And I wonder if Jesus isn't teaching his disciples and teaching us that when Jesus says something, it's true, whether it seems true to us or not. He says she hasn't died, even though she, really had physically died. Jesus says that's not her reality. She's asleep. Jesus, as God, speaks over reality, and when he says it, it happens. Then 40 says, and they were laughing at him. So this is from katagelao. And whenever you have a compound, it usually intensifies whatever the word means. So this is intensely laughed at. And then I love this picture. It says, but he, having thrown them out. A lot of times in artwork, Jesus is pictured as this person who would never offend anyone, and that's not the Jesus of Scripture. He just grabs these people and he throws them out. And then he takes along the father of the child and the mother and those who were with him. So that's common Greek to just put a prepositional phrase and you're using that as a substantive. Those with him, and he goes in where the little child was. So this is a diminutive. And having seized the hand of the child, he says to her, Talitha cum. And so that's Aramaic, and you can see that the scribes had a little bit of problem with that, because they think that Jesus misspoke, because Talitha is like little girl, and then the imperative is kumi, you get up. But Mark has written Talitha cum, and so you can see scribes are trying to correct to what they think is right. Sinaiticus, Vaticanus, Family One, and the Coptic all have the right reading, but I think Mark is letting us know that he knows it isn't the imperative, because he translates it. He says Talitha cum, which is having been which is being interpreted. See, we got the word hermeneutic there after interpretation, which is translated to kalration, O little girl, to you I say. So that doesn't appear anywhere here, but Mark is saying it's implied. Get up. And I think why he's doing that is because I think in Aramaic this is the infinitive construct. So it says little girl and then implies, I say to you to get up. Talitha cum. A little maiden, to you I say, get up. 42, and straightway the little maiden stood up, and she was running around, peripatetoing, for she was 12 years old. Been raised from the dead. That's what you do when you're 12. You run around. And they were amazed straightway. See, ex histemi, they were standing outside of themselves with a great ecstasy. They were amazed with great amazement. So that's where we're going to pick it up on Monday. You can watch this video anytime you want. Just email me once you've done it, and I'll give you the points for being present that day. The quiz will be in the link in Brightspace, and we aren't doing any more of the grammar. We're just doing the translation quizzes from here on out. No more vocabulary. I'll give you the link to all those so that you can read over it, but you don't have to memorize any more of the paradigms or the vocab. Just put your energy into reading. I hope I'm going to test negative on Monday, and if so, and I'm symptom free, then I can come back on campus on Friday. And so I hope to see you then. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.